What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Tuesday edition of Morning Cuppa Hockey presented by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We are sorry for the slow start today. As always, you can hashtag blame Vic. That's what we do when things go wrong on this show. We always blame our producer, Vic. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Johnny Lazarus. We got a great episode for you today. We got John Buccigross, friend of the show, joining in about a couple minutes here, maybe 2 or 3 minutes off the top. We'll have Bucci on until around like 9:30 or so. And then after that, we'll bring on Adam Nightingale, the head coach of the Michigan State hockey team, the number one team in the country for NCAA Division I hockey. So excited to talk to him in our Cuppa College, segment. Lots to get into today. Colby, how you doing?
Johnny, that looks like a different background, bud. Can you shed a little bit of light onto that for us?
Yeah, this is my new apartment. Finally found one after a month of searching. So I got to decorate a little bit. There's really nothing in this room right now, and it's going to take me a couple weeks probably to get fully set up. I don't even have a bed or anything. But I got to go to UMass tomorrow for 2 games this weekend. I got UMass versus Maine on Thursday and Friday. So travel week for me, and I got the Rangers Hurricanes tonight, Rangers Islanders Saturday. A lot going on this week. I'll be in a hockey rink for the next 5 straight nights or 4 out of the next 5 nights. So busy week, but this is my new apartment in the West Village in New York. So lots of action around here. And
Yeah, listen, the West Village is a great place to live. No doubt about that. Today's a big day in New York, Johnny, and I'm hoping you're wise enough to get to the polls and have your voice heard. I think when you're an American, I think there's nothing more American than going to vote. And and that probably, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about how the voting and the structure. I mean, I overarchingly understand the Canadian system, but I don't obviously know it like I know ours. But I do think it's important to get out there and vote, Johnny. So I'm glad you finally settled into a place. I do think the exposed brick, for those of you that are audio only, it looks cool. I like it. I miss the exposed brick in my old house before I moved. I do miss it. So you can do lots of cool stuff in there. So we'll look forward to seeing you growing up finally and getting off of Mom and Emily's couch. So that's always a good thing. So
I'll still be there a lot. So don't get used to it.
Yeah, that is true. And you're back living with with our quote unquote roommate, right? Back to that whole story.
I will say, I was looking for a studio apartment in New York, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but a studio apartment, I looked at one building, studio apartment, 450 square feet, no washer dryer in the building. No washer dryer in the building. Not only not in the apartment, not in the building. $3,500 a month for rent. Can you believe that? And I was like, if I'm traveling a lot and I'm not even really going to be here or sleep here that much, I'm not spending $3,500 a month to live in a studio. So Troy hit me up and said, do you want to move back in together? And I was like, honestly, yeah, I'm down. So I'm paying less, or basically the same that I was in our last apartment, in a better location. And I have a roommate who I love. So all for it. Emily's all for it. And then once this lease ends, hopefully Sweet Baby and I will move in together, and then I'll be a real adult.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's and you bite your tongue in the
Grinnell,
chat.
get the fuck out of here.
Mike, you bite your tongue, G. That is not even okay to joke about on a day like today. Hot boys for the Johnny. You're in that little group. So, all right, let's get to some hockey stuff, because we do have Bucci coming on here shortly. We were supposed to
can I
have
give one shout out, actually?
Well, hold on. Let me just quickly.
Okay.
We were supposed to have Elliot on today. He had a little bit of a scheduling conflict last second. And so Elliot Friedman will join us tomorrow. So you'll hold your questions for Elliot until tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to get to him. But so we will have him. We'll have him tomorrow. Butchie's coming on today. And then, like we said, Adam Nightingale, number one team in the country in college hockey. He's coached a couple of guys that are really making some noise in the National Hockey League right now. And he's got a number of guys that are probably going to be making some noise come the springtime and the National Hockey League. So it'll be great to have him on. And I see our Flyers crew in the chat today. Don't worry. We'll definitely ask him about Porter Martone for you. No problem. So Go ahead, Johnny. Give us your shout outs, bud.
Well, yeah, while Grinnell's here, actually, I bought this book last night, and I think we've talked about it maybe on our show briefly, but One Night Only by Ken Reed. He went on Game Notes last week, actually forwarded by our very own friend Jeff Marek. It's a book about guys who played only one game in the NHL. So you hear from multiple people telling their story about, whether it was like living out their dream or bitterness toward only getting one game, like those kinds of stories. And we talked to Chris Kelleher actually about it when he came on our show last year, because Chris Kelleher is another guy who only got one game in the NHL. Now he's the assistant GM of the Minnesota Wild, but it's certainly a unique perspective for a lot of people to have. I mean, if you could live out your dream for one night, like I think that's what anybody would kill for. So I'm pumped to read this. I don't read a ton of books, but I heard them talking about it on Game Notes, and I was texting with Army a little bit about it, and I figured, why not give this one a read? So it seems really cool. Obviously, there's some names that we now know and work with, so that'll be really cool too.
We had a ref this weekend. Now that you're bringing up Game Notes, it just sparked this. We had a little bit of our team didn't play well this weekend. We were up in Massachusetts playing against the Northeast Generals, and there was a little bit of an incident between one of their players, kind of both nights, and semantics or whatever. And the official came over and he was talking to us, and he said, "Don't worry, I read the game notes, bud." To our head, to George Havlin, to our head coach, and I kind of laughed at that because I think it went over his head, obviously, but I obviously understood the reference. And when he said that, I was like, oh, all right, this guy must not be too bad if he's throwing a little game notes reference at us, even though we were kind of pissed off at him because we didn't think he was doing a great job. It was still kind of funny to hear him say that. So, all right, listen, we're rambling a little bit. Let's get to Bucci here. Why don't you read him in, Jonny, and let's start talking about what's going on around the NHL.
Yes, and before we bring John Buccigross on, just want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app, from game day eats to paper plates and napkins. If you're hosting to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long, and we will actually save our Uber Eats stat of the day and bring Bucci on. So once Bucci joins, where are you?
I'm in beautiful Naples, Florida, where every day is perfect.
Wow, look at you. What's the shirt say, Booch? Booyah?
Oh, I love it.
I like it. It's good to see you. Good to have you back here.
I got a great idea for Johnny's latest T-shirt, which, to use one of his quotes from 2 minutes ago, I don't read a ton of books. That's what a shocker that is. Thanks,
I was just going to say, I was just going to say that is probably the least surprising thing he will say today. Look, Jonny is a powerful guy, Bucci, and
I know.
We're just going to start here. Jonny united the entire province of Ontario last night with a tweet late in the evening.
I saw it.
Read it for those of you who are not on the stream and are audio only. It says at 8:15 p.m., the Leafs are going to miss the playoffs. I believe the Leafs were down 2-0 at this point to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then, Bucci, what happened the rest of the evening?
Well, they were home against a young team, and that's why eventually the Penguins will regress to their mean, because they're playing a lot of very young players, especially was it the tying goal or the go-ahead goal when their two youngest defensemen were on the ice together. And that probably, I don't know if that's a thing they're choosing to do, just to, hey, we're going to take our lumps, we are who we are, but they took advantage. So, I don't think that was an outlandish take. I do think the Maple Leafs are basically kind of a bubble plus team, not quite, bubble like the Bruins, but I think they're close to the Bruins. Like, that they're in the neighborhood of the Bruins. I think most people think the Bruins aren't going to make the playoffs, maybe just out, maybe an 89-point team, 92. Maybe if it all goes right, they get to 95 or make the playoffs. But I don't think it was an outlandish take. And I think Jonny should, actually stand by it for the whole year.
I do. I am.
Good.
I'm making like bets. Vic wants to bet me 10 grand on it.
Well, that's a bit rich, but maybe it's worth 200.
Yeah, I immediately declined the 10 grand Bucci. Don't worry.
Capital
No,
Grill dinner, something like that. But I think it's
yeah.
a decent take.
I fully stand by it. I don't even think it was really a take. They looked like shit. Everyone was.
They did.
I wasn't. It's not like I was the only one tweeting the Leafs look horrible last night. Anyone I follow that was watching that game was saying basically the same thing. Their structure was bad. They were dive bombing. They were letting up odd-man rushes. They weren't generating any offense. I think the shots were 24-8 in the second period. This team looked like they looked like they didn't even know what systems they were even playing. It looked like they weren't coached. Craig Berube was on the bench doing one of these. He didn't know what to do. But the whole team looked like a mess last night until the third period, and they came out and their top guys played well. I don't know what the hell happened in between the second and third, but I don't think it was nearly a crazy take at the time that I said it. Obviously, with the luck that I have, it just happened to happen that they came back from down 3-0 in the third period.
Yeah, and I looked at it as how good the Penguins were playing, and how they have all year, how fast they play, how quickly they play, how quickly they move the puck. Really, and again, the Leafs probably made it a little bit easier, but Erik Karlsson's playing at a high level. Evgeni Malkin, those first couple periods at real high level. His puck retrieval skills, one of the best all time in my mind. The way he's able to retrieve pucks, create turnovers, and then obviously steal the puck, stick check Datsuk and then make a play with his long reach and hands, and he's always not been afraid to muck it up. It's interesting how he's turned, and he's playing for a contract. He still wants to play. Crosby, I don't think it was Crosby's best game, the great backhand pass to Karlsson, but Austin Matthews in the third period did step on the gas, realize, hey, I'm the best player on the ice here. I need to impose my will. He did, got behind Crosby for the first goal, that amazing along the ice 5-hole goal that he's kind of brought into the league the last 5 years is unbelievable. It's like the new bar down for me, is that on the ice move. We see Eichel do it a lot because what's great about that is you don't miss the net. And so many times when you try to go bar down, you do miss the net. It turns around the other way. There's just, it really is an efficient shot. It's a quick release. And then from there, they took over with momentum. A young team starts to crumble. Even an older team can crumble. It can happen to anybody. But yeah, first I thought the Penguins looked great. And then then Toronto imposed their will. So who knows? Maybe this will be something that they wake up with, and Austin Matthews goes on to have an MVP year and realize I could probably get almost 2 points a night if I really wanted to. I should probably be a 130-point player, and that's the play there. Got behind Crosby, the beautiful pass, that 5-hole on the ice goal to give them life, and from there they took over.
It seems like that 5-hole shot is a little demoralizing for a goaltender. It's like
right.
You beat a goalie bar down sometimes, and I know goaltenders are as competitive a people as there is, but some of these guys, the way they shoot the puck bar down, sometimes a goalie's got to realize hey, you tip your cap to him. But the 5-hole goal, the goalie always looks extra pissed when that one goes right in along the ice. Don't they always kind of have that shoulder slumping body language?
The whole team does. Right, the whole team does. Because they're taught to go down butterfly, make them beat you bar down. He was almost top of the crease. A decent location. Look at that pass. A decent location for those watching on video. And then just that gorgeous, because, he's got to be ready in case Matthews has so much speed, he could deke. And if he dekes, he has to be on his skates, right? So you have to be on your skates. Because if you go down, he's going to deke, and then you look even sillier. So you're going to try to beat him to the ice, especially him, the shootout move. You see Kent Johnson, Adam Fantilli do that on shootout moves. Eichel is starting to do it. That 6-hole area, which is above the pad, below the blocker when left-handed catch guys. So, yeah, I love those elite shooters like that. And also, it reminded me when I played baseball, when I would bounce back to the pitcher, that was the most demoralizing out, because in 1 second, you're out and you still got to run all the way down there. And I used to piss me off more than anything, bouncing back to the pitcher. So especially if you hit it pretty well too. It's like, oh, it's over. The hope is gone. And I got to run all the way down there. That's the 5-hole ice goal for a goalie.
Yeah. So
I was going to say, I thought though, when he started to lean his shoulder, I thought he was going to do Bucci. I'm sure you've seen this too. And Colby, we know it as well. Obviously, the 5-hole slip, everyone calls it, where you get the goalie to open up and then you slip it on the backhand. That's
they have to be ready for that.
Yeah.
That's the Marchand move. Marchand does that every time, just very about. Well. Yes, when in doubt, he goes back in. He didn't do it on the breakaway against the Panthers 2 years ago. I don't know why it was there for him. But that's for another day.
Imagine the course of the universe if he scores.
Oh my God!
Goal.
Someone should do a movie. on that, like a pretend documentary, and what happens, and like superimpose him making the lower the shoulder, forehand, backhand. Then what happens? Bobrovsky's probably gone. They buy him out. Alex Lyons, the new starter. Whatever. But that would be a fun make believe mockumentary on what would happen if that breakaway in Game 5 was scored.
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you this, because I'm just looking at the standings, and because I watched a little bit of that Oilers game last night too, and I have more faith in the Oilers, albeit not their goaltending. Although Picard wasn't a problem for them last night. The team's play was a problem for them last night. How they kind of let their foot off the gas, but they both have 15 points, and I feel like with the Oilers, we're sitting here. And there's reasons why, but we're like, yeah, it doesn't really matter what the Oilers do in November. It doesn't really matter what they do in October. And I kind of thought that way about the Leafs too, although they took 102 points out of their lineup and they didn't really replace it. But are these teams kind of the same at this point, where we don't really care what they do right now? It's really all about what they do when the weather turns in the springtime. I don't know. Like, I feel more confident in the Oilers than I do the Leafs, but I still think both of them are easily playoff teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't quite compare Edmonton to Toronto back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals. They're definitely a notch above. But I see what you mean. Matthews, Nylander, McDavid, Draisaitl. It's ballpark. It's not. I don't think it's the same. And I really like when Utah came into town. Edmonton's been kind of sleeping here. They know it's going to be a long year. They're thinking about June. They have the Olympics to deal with. All their good players, even Draisaitl, not Four Nations. He got a break last year. But it's a long year. And then Utah came to town. They got a lot of attention. I think they were 8-2, and Edmonton kind of put their foot down like the big brother and said, "No, we're still a notch above you." And they showed that they were. So I thought that was impressive. They have it in them to do that. So yeah, I have no worries about Edmonton getting there. I think Toronto isn't quite as good or deep, and so I think theirs is, they got to make sure they don't get an injury. Their goalies don't get injured. Their goalies stink or whatever. If Matthews gets hurt again, then it could be a problem. Like I said, it could be a little bit of a problem. I don't think they're a 100-point team. So when that's the case, then you're playing with fire, right? So, but yeah, I do believe, like you said, there is a foot on the gas thing, and maybe Toronto will start to go here. And Nylander and Tavares is still very good, and obviously Matthews has a potential to be the best player in the league, best player in the conference, best player in the division, all around with what he is defensively. And so, yeah, I agree. I wouldn't quite compare them, but they're in their ballpark.
Okay.
I actually disagree, Colby. I think if there's like one team in the NHL like that we can judge based on what they do in the playoffs versus the regular season, like not really mattering because everyone expects them to be good, is Carolina. Like I look at Toronto and I look at Edmonton, and I think there's been a lot of turnover in Edmonton. Like they lost like 7 guys from their team last year. They filled those spots with young guys like Jack Roslovic has also stepped in, and then Toronto still has to figure themselves out without that playmaker in Marner. Like it's clear that the Leafs like are missing a playmaker. Like offensively, I've now watched 3 games of Toronto and they're missing something, right? Like we haven't seen this explosive firepower up front that the Leafs usually have. I'm not saying that's all Marner, but it definitely is a missing piece. But when it comes to teams that don't really have to prove anything in the regular season, I think it's just Carolina, because we always expect them to be 1 or 2 in the Metropolitan Division. Like that's something that I want to talk to the Hurricanes about today, just because we kind of look past them, from October to February, right? And then, March, April, when we're coming down to the race for number 1 in the division, that's when I feel like people pick up on Carolina. But there hasn't been a ton of Hurricanes chatter, I feel like, in the beginning of the season, and maybe that's just because we expect them to always be at the top.
Yeah, every year Brendan Moore's coach, they've made the playoffs. Every year but one, they've won at least a playoff round. So, like, when they get to the playoffs, they win a playoff round. They've been to 2 conference finals. They've tried, because of the Barkov injury, the early Kachuk injury, and then I picked Carolina to win the cup just because I felt like the East was open because of the Barkov injury. If he's truly out for the year, I do think he'll be back for the playoffs. But if he was, this is their chance, right? And so they're a 100-point team for sure. They have lots of depth. They have a lot of cap room, so they'll be able to make it a big, bold move at the deadline. And but again, it comes down to goaltending health. When Freddie Anderson's healthy, he's in that upper tier. maybe tier two, not quite tier one, but pretty close to tier two. You can win cups with tier two. We've seen cups won with, by Aiden Hill and recently. And so it's possible. So yeah, I do think Carolina is in the mix. Jarvis is getting better, arriving as a pro. Jackson Blake, Stan Coven, they really start to get some depth there. The third line is still good. I'd like to keep Svechnikov on the stall line with Martinuk, and Carrier is always hurt. He can be a fourth line plug-in, but Condry Middle looked good in his couple of games. Slavin hasn't played much, so yeah, I do think Carolina, this might be their best bet here to kind of slot in. And they're all, again, they make it every year. No one's been as good for as long consistently as them. When they get to the playoffs, they usually win a playoff round, and they've gotten the conference finals twice, but again, just hasn't been enough. So they're definitely in the mix.
Yeah, Johnny always loves to talk about the Carolina Hurricanes because it always seems to come down to the Hurricanes and the Rangers to see who's going to continue to move on. So he's always got his eye on that Carolina Hurricanes team, and he can always fire up that Carolina crowd really well. I want to stay in the East actually and go to the Island because you had a beautiful tweet about Matthew Schaefer after I believe it was after you called his game.
Yep, in Carolina.
You made a comparison that really sort of made sense to me in the early going. But I remember watching Niedermayer play and absolutely kill the Philadelphia Flyers as a kid, as a New Jersey Devil. He was the only guy on that team that really got to play however he wanted. Everyone else really played within a structure. And then there was Scott Niedermayer, who he was your sort of modern OG rover. I know Bobby Orr and I'm talking in the modern day game. That was who he was. And, he was great in Anaheim as well. Obviously he spent some time there, in the latter stages, but can you talk a little bit about Matthew Schaefer? Because we were supposed to get to him yesterday and we just kind of ran out of time, but he just seems to continue to really impress everybody that watches him play the game of hockey.
Yeah, just seeing him in person before the game, he's 6'2", he's a legit 6'2", so he's just taller than a lot of these hockey players. And I think, geez, he's 18 years old. He might even grow another inch. I grew 2 inches in college, like I wrote on that tweet. Maybe he'll grow at least an inch and a half. Maybe he'll be 6'3.5". Then he's got even a longer reach. His skating is just so sublime, obviously, but he's also just so smart, so amazing with the puck. He's going to be an absolute power play savant because he feels the game, he attacks the game, which you're now totally allowed to do. Niedermayer was like, they'll let me do this for a little bit, but then I got to get back. He never had the complete freedom. Otherwise, he would be a 90-point defenseman. He would have scored 30 goals like Cale Makar did last year. But the way he is on the power play, he has a shot. He has a one-time shot. He has a grit to get to the net. I just think as a total package, in 5 years, he's going to be better than all these guys, like a little bit better than all of them, because they all have some limitations. Some of it is height, some of it is puck skills at the top of the power play. They all have just a tiny, tiny limitation. But he seems to have all of that, the recoverable skating to get back, the reach, the one-time piece, the ability to get pucks through, the shot, the lateral movement, the competitiveness. Man, he just seems to have it. And again, but ultimately the poise and the emotional intelligence that he has, that he obviously showed on draft night, dealing with the death of his mother. And then just now as a young pro in interviews and this how he plays the game, he has a great poise and professionalism already. So what a jewel for the Islanders to get him. This is a team I would buy this stock right now with all the prospects they have. They'll likely be probably a lottery team this year, just barely. Matthew Darch has so many pieces to trade, valuable pieces like Pajot, even Anders Lee. Someone might want him going for a cup. Can you imagine putting Anders Lee on the third line in Carolina to play with Stahl and Martinuk? Pajot, the amazing 60%, face-off guy who can kill penalties, right-handed shot, so much value. He's got value all over the place to really keep on adding pieces. And then he could, whether he chooses to keep Barzell and Horvat the whole way to kind of keep it from sinking all the way like Chicago did, and just to kind of maybe we can do this quickly because in Schaefer we have legitimately a Hall of Famer. Like when they're going to be a Hall of Famer when they're 18. So that I really think the Islanders are in a great position going forward.
Yeah,
I
Johnny,
tweeted it. Sorry, go. Yeah,
I just want to follow up on it a little bit because the thing that strikes me is that there's almost a reckless abandonment or a little bit of a reckless arrogance or confidence. It's probably somewhere in between. And I remember Cale Makar having it his first days in the NHL, but he was older. Okay, so he had a little bit more time to season Bucci, but I think the guy that it strikes me the closest to is an 18-year-old Drew Doughty. And maybe Drew Doughty was never as dynamic because he wasn't as fluid and beautiful of a skater as Schaefer, although Doughty could move, like not as pretty looking, but he could move. And I just remember when Drew comes into the NHL, it was like, geez, like, how do you already have this amount of ice in your veins? Like, how are you are trying the same shit that you tried in the OHL, at the U18s, at the World Juniors, and you're doing it now in the NHL. And so few guys can do that from night one. And I think that's what it's reminded me of. And Drew Doughty's a Hall of Famer. I don't think anybody's arguing that Drew Doughty's a Hall of Famer. I mean, so it's like, that has just blown me away. And I was a guy who was worried and thinking, they're rushing this kid. He barely played hockey last year. Don't screw this kid's confidence up. Don't throw him in the deep end and make him drown. But he's got that, Patrick Waugh used the word swagger. He clearly knows what swagger looks like. And it really, again, it reminds me of how good Drew was as an 18-year-old defenseman, where he just took the league by storm with I don't give a fuck. I'm going to play my way. And that's what Schaefer does. And it's honestly, it's sick to watch. Like, it's actually sick to watch. Not something I say often, but that's how I feel when I'm watching this guy play hockey.
Yeah, Doughty was definitely reckless. Didn't have the poise that Schaefer had, but you're right. They won 2 cups with him and gold medal for Team Canada. And yeah, he's now just starting to really Drew Doughty, like this year, he says, I gave up what he said, golf and beer to get in really good shape to try to extend. What a great quote, to try to extend his career, because he really wants to keep going here and be a part of maybe even try to make the Olympic team, obviously get one more gold medal and finish off his career really strong. They had a good team going into this year, and they feel like they're one star away maybe from being able to contend for a cup. Right now, they just don't have that star that can probably carry them in the postseason, which is what you need through the postseason. We talk about Carolina. One reason why they quite maybe not get all the way to the finals is because, again, that 1 or 2 superstars you kind of need to get there. And Vegas finally got it with Eichel there. That's what kind of put them over the hump, getting through Edmonton and their 2 stars, and then to win the cup, which they didn't quite do in year 1. So that's a cool comparison. But yeah, Schaefer has a poise, and I'm sure during training camp, they could tell early, wow, okay, this guy can handle it with his skating. He's got this poise. It's like, boy, he might be not our best player now, but he's certainly our most talented. And then by the end of the year, he might be our best, most impactful player. And I think as you watch them now, you can kind of, again, he got walked a couple times in Carolina. He still has his high school strength. He's going to need another, 3-4 years to get that man strength, and it's going to be really something. But yeah, it's fun to watch. I just want to go back to Pittsburgh, Toronto, where we started. Is Ben Kindle. How much I'm impressed with him. He's smart. Like, I love those smart players. He has a great feel and knack for the game. He reminds me of Patrick Sharp, kind of. Sharp had 4 30-goal years. Kindle might be able to go touch 40, maybe. It'll be close. He needs to play with better players. He got no assists right now, but he was always a big assist man going back to WHL and Calgary. He had a lot of assists. So I think if he gets with better players and players that he can work with and learn to be with, I think that'll change. But I really like Kindle. I think he's got a great upside, a good top 6 guy for sure. Maybe ideally a second line winger on a really good team, but even possibly as a first line winger as well. I think Penguins really, I think, got a great selection him at number 11.
He's another guy who could skate too. But Bucci, I want to stay with Schaefer just for another second here,
Yeah.
and give you our Uber Eats stat of the day. Got to talk about Uber Eats again. Matthew Schaefer, the youngest
Yum.
D-man in NHL history to record a multi-goal game, 18 years, 58 days old, passing Bobby Orr's record of 18 years, 248 days old. But one thing I've been saying about Matthew Schaefer that I want to get your opinion on, and I want it to be like across all sports, even if you want to stick in hockey, that's fine, because I can only think of like one in the past couple of years that maybe isn't hateable. But I feel like Matthew Schaefer is one of those guys who won't make any enemies. Like I don't see this kid having anyone hate him throughout his career. And again, I know we're only a month into it, but like I feel the same about Macklin, but it's different. You know, Macklin's been out there and he's very lovable, and the way he plays, I think, is admirable. But the personality Schaefer has also brought, like, I can't think of another athlete across all four sports right now that's just like as lovable and has everyone rooting for him like Schaefer does.
Yeah, he really does have that charisma, even without his backstory and losing his mom. It would be a story. It would be, a phenomenon to watch his talent and to see how he handles it, to see his poise of being 17 years old over the summer. We look at ourselves as a 17 and 18-year-old. It's like, man, I wish I had his poise and emotional intelligence now, much less when I was 18. But you add the backstory of his mom and handling how he handled that and spoke about it. And on draft night, when he saw the Hockey Fights Cancer ribbon, he probably didn't expect that. And that was the tipping point for him to kind of lose it publicly emotionally, because we hadn't seen that really publicly. All those interviews, it almost seemed robotic the way he was handling his mother's death. Now again, it had been obviously half a year or so since it happened, but he was really like, wow, this kid's really handling this amazing. Then on draft night, when he saw that, and obviously the accomplishment that he knew was coming, that really gave him made him obviously so much a sympathetic figure, the way he handled it and the way he let out there publicly, so vulnerable. So yeah, it's and obviously to be in New York area gets him a lot of attention on the East Coast. People are going to watch him play a lot, unlike Connor, unlike even Austin Matthews being in Canada. So to be this guy, even Cale Makar plays in the Mountain Time Zone. People are in bed a lot when he plays. Matthew Schaefer has a lot of 7 o'clock Eastern time zone games. Most of the country still lives in the East. Half of the country lives in the Central and the East. There's just not a lot of people out there in the West. So the fact that he's there, he's going to get a lot of eyeballs on him.
Yeah, you'll be seeing him play on ABC sooner than later. On
yes, good call.
Those nice national TV windows. All right, Bucci, before we let you go, where can we find you the next couple of nights? Where will you be?
Yeah, me and TJ Oshie tonight for the big ESPN game, Dallas Edmonton. I haven't worked with TJ, in intermissions. He appeared on the Frozen Frenzy. I really love the enthusiasm he's bringing to the team. Same with Eric Johnson. They really want to be good. These guys made plenty of money. They don't have to do this. They don't have to work, but they're doing it, and they're really giving their all. So I'm looking forward to that. Then I got another Raps again next Tuesday, and then I got some games coming up. Got Detroit, Columbus, which I'm looking forward to in Columbus. I got Edmonton, Tampa Bay down here in Tampa Bay later in the month. Yeah, Blackhawks, Blues day before Thanksgiving in Chicago. Will Chicago still be there and kind of keep giving them hope? And then got some cool games in December as well, back to Columbus. And so, looking forward to getting a lot of play-by-play coming up here in November and December. Our January, our schedule came out for the rest of the year. So busy in January, obviously busy in March, Colby, with a lot of games and the NCAAs and Vegas Frozen Four, which is on ESPN this year. So yeah, I'm really pumped up about the season, the job, all my teammates, and looking forward to a great finish to 25 and an awesome 26.
Well, you and Torts in the studio together, like nobody shows people Torts' personality quite like you do. You wind him up, and it really is must see TV. Like when you and Torts are together, it's
I love
really enjoyable to watch. So
love him.
All right, listen, safe travels. You're the best. Always
Thank
good
you.
to see you. You're always smiling.
The best.
If you live in Florida, that's why. And we love you, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, pal?
Peace. Thanks, boys. Thanks for remembering.
Thanks, Bucci. Appreciate it. He's the best. I cannot wait to clip that. What?
I just want to say this, and I probably do this every time he comes on our show. Mm-hmm. That is one of the happiest people that I'm ever around.
Yeah.
I spend a considerable amount of time with him every year, and it's very condensed, but it's like it's like intense because we're together basically every day for like, 3-4 straight weeks, every meal, post game at the bar, pre-game, eat, like, so he's always happy. I wish most people could live their lives as happy as him because we'd have a better society. I'm not kidding you. He's just always in a good mood. So I know we have one order of business we got to get to before we bring on Adam Nightingale. So I'll let you get to that really quick, and then I'm going to say something to the chat.
I actually am pissed, though. There was one question that I just thought of that I wanted to ask him that we'll have to save maybe for next time, which I guess I won't get into, Colby, but he tweeted something last night about Crosby getting 2,000 points. And I feel like the next debate, the next version of Ovi versus Sid, right, is going to be what's more impressive, 900 goals or 2,000 plus points? Like, that's going to be the next thing, right? I don't know if you want to get into that now. We can if you want to for a second. I could, do the prime read and then we can talk about that. But this segment is a presentation of Prime Monday Night Hockey. Prime Monday Night Hockey streams all national regular season Monday night NHL games on Prime Video in Canada and is available free to Prime members in Canada. Stream Prime Monday Night Hockey exclusively on Prime Video and experience thrilling goals and dramatic plays from the NHL. Monday nights are hockey nights, so don't miss a moment of the action. Monday, November 10th, this coming Monday, Columbus is in Edmonton to take on McDavid, Draisaitl, and the Oilers. So you can check out the link in our description for the Prime Monday Night Hockey schedule on Prime Video or go to primevideo.com/NHL. Also on Prime Video, you can check out Face Off Inside the NHL Season 2, which they did show a little bit on last night's broadcast between the Penguins and Maple Leafs. They had Sidney Crosby's episode shung between periods. That was pretty cool. So subscribe with a 30-day free trial to Prime Video to watch Monday Night Hockey and the new season of Face Off. Download the app or go to primevideo.com. Colby, do you want to do that conversation or still too early? It's kind of hypothetical, honestly.
Yeah, and I think I want to collect.
I just saw Bucci tweet something about it last night.
I think both, it might be one of those where they're equally as impressive potentially.
Yeah.
Because remember, there's 2 assists on every goal and there's only 1 goal, right? So I think I need to wrap my head around it a little bit, and I don't like to just fly off the seat of my pants without thinking it through a little bit.
Yeah, I just want to read the exact tweet. Someone tweeted at Jason Greger actually saying, "Does McDavid end his career as only second player with 2,000 points?" And Bucci said he'll be third. Crosby will be second. So that's where it stemmed from.
I mean, listen,
just to clarify,
there's certainly, to start the year, reason to think that Sidney Crosby is not even close to slowing down. No. It's like there's no gradual drop off. And if you look at Ovi, who has had slow starts before, which is why I'm not ready to write Ovi off. Like, I still think Ovi's going to score 30 goals this year.
30 at least, yeah.
Yeah, like, I still very much believe in that.
He has, 2 this year?
He's got 2 goals, and he's having a hard time getting to his spot. And, you don't see him lugging the puck quite as much. His minutes are definitely down a little bit. So there are some signs that I would say would be slightly concerning, but I still think he's scoring 30 goals this year. Like, I'm not ready to say the Ovi drop off is happening. Hopefully we're not still having this conversation in January, because then it's like, oh shit, maybe it is. But look, the drop offs, they normally happen pretty quickly. I mean, they're usually like one day it's still that guy and the next day he's not. And then we go, shit, I guess it happened. So it is interesting to monitor that situation, Johnny.
Yeah, and that's all I really got to say. I don't really have anything to say, but we'll save that conversation for a slow news day maybe. And I know Jeremiah will probably get pissed when we do that conversation, because he always does when we talk about Crosby versus Ovechkin. But that's just the conversation that we're always going to have until those 2 retire. So we'll back pocket that. Let's get into our Cuppa College segment. We got Adam Nightingale, the head coach of the Michigan State Spartans, the number 1 team in the country, ready to join us. But before we bring him on, just want to give a quick word from our sponsor, Out West. We're going to talk about the El Dorado collection, which has officially arrived to Out West HQ. This drop features 3 new colors of our best-selling Zakor Performance hoodie, Nightfall, Kentucky Charcoal, and Kerry Green, subtle tones that were heavily requested from our fan base, so we figured it was time. New on the roster are 2 performance pieces. We work closely with our manufacturing team to find a French terry fabric that's more durable without sacrificing comfort. So enter the Brighton Full Zip Jacket and the Stella Performance Q-Zip, both available in 4 colors for effortless layering and performance. And rounding out the release, the highly anticipated men's everyday vest makes its debut. A puffer, but not puffy. If you know, you know. Clean design, versatile fit, built for wherever your day takes you. Certain sizes and colors sold quickly in pre-order, so do yourself a favor and grab the piece you've had your eye on before it's too late. Out West, every game needs an outlaw. And with that, let's bring on head coach of the Michigan State Spartans, Coach Nightingale. Coach, how you doing? Are you well rested and ready for the big weekend ahead?
Yeah, no, it's obviously a weird time to have a bye, but I think our team, we're trying to get better, right? And a lot of our guys need a lot of practice time, to keep growing. And so, we'll take advantage of the bye week. And I thought we've had a good week and a half here. We got to have a few more good practices, but excited for the weekend.
Let me just ask you, and this was not something I planned on asking you, but here we go anyway. How, as a coach, do you handle those bye weeks? Is it year to year, depending on your team's weak strengths and weaknesses? Do you have sort of a one-size-fits-all approach to that? Like, because you obviously want to get a little bit of rest for guys because your team does play incredibly hard, but you also are so early in the season that there's probably a lot of things you're still looking to work on. Like, what's the philosophy there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends. You're right. It depends on what's going on with the season, where you're at health-wise. Fortunately, we've been pretty relatively healthy. So, I just think anytime you're talking about young players and young team, like, you got to take advantage of practice time. And, for our guys, we've asked them, you got to, it's not just what happens at the rink, right? You got to be disciplined away from the rink. And just because we're not playing on the weekend doesn't mean, you can be staying up all night and playing video games and all this stuff. You got to stay in a routine. You got to stay disciplined. And really the goal is, when we played our Saturday, we want to be a better team 2 weeks from now and take advantage of this bye week. And so we definitely got a lot of stuff to keep working on and plenty of stuff to cover in practice.
I heard you spend it making pizzas or going fishing. That's the rumor that I hear from Coach Nightingale at Michigan State.
Yeah, I wish. I love to fish for sure. It was a sad day actually during the bye week. I turned my boat back in, so that thing's wrapped up till the spring. And I am an outdoorsman. I got a couple boys that really like to hunt, so we got a piece of property. Our oldest is bow hunting on it now, so I've been helping them at night, kind of get stuff dialed in. And but that's the great thing of the state of Michigan. I mean, if you're an outdoorsman, there's not a better spot.
Yeah, that's cool to be kind of tangled up with your kids. My kids aren't quite of age to do stuff like that yet, but I do look forward to that as they start to grow up and start to learn the ways. And kind of speaking of that, I think about sort of your overall time at Michigan State, and I look at how you and your staff, Jared and Mike Towns, like, you guys have revitalized a program that is a proud program with good history, with championships behind it. And I always say, like, it's great when the big brand schools are really good, because I think that it grows the game in ways that the smaller brands just can't do. And I'm curious, we talk about this with NHL teams all the time, and your team is littered with guys who will play in the NHL. But last year, I sat on the selection show and I picked you guys to get out of the region, right? To take my Terriers out. And I thought you guys would be, playing for a national championship last year. So this season, you're the number 1 team. You guys have started incredibly well. I was so impressed with how you guys played that Boston weekend, and you've continued it. But do you feel like you kind of have to learn how to win by losing? We talk about that with NHL teams. Do you feel like you guys are sort of feeling like, all right, we've taken some lumps, we've learned some hard lessons, we've brought some new players in? Is that sort of the trajectory that you guys feel like you're on right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, to the first part, thankful for our staff, right? I mean, I think you look at the guys that they've been able to bring in, and not only bring in, but help improve. And Townsy and D-Mike do a heck of a job. And, I didn't know either one of them when I got the job. I knew enough that, I wasn't in college, and I needed to surround myself with people that were really good, and ask their bosses for permission. A lot of times people hire their buddies or whatever. And I think maybe my time working in the NHL was comfortable, working with different people. And they've done a heck of a job, and thankful that, they've decided to stay. We've had continuity with our staff, and, I think that's huge for our players and for our program. And no doubt, I think, we're excited about the trajectory of our program. And we talked about at the beginning of the year with our team is like, we definitely have some scars, and the nice thing with scars is it's a reminder of what happened, and we've all had them as players and different moments in our career and as coaches and program. And we got to make sure we remember that feeling. And, our sport it's tough, right? It's, you get down to the end and it's single elimination. And I think that's what makes it exciting for the fan. And, you were talking about training for one single moment, right? And you look back at even that game that we lost. I thought we did a lot of good stuff in the first half of the game and didn't put a really good team away, and go into the third period, and your season's over, So it's nice that we have, I think the other side I really think that's going to help our group is we got a few guys that have been here from the start, and, remembering, where we were at. And, our new guys can walk in here and see Munn full. When we first got here, there was, about 1,000 people at our game. And, I think I give our guys credit, right? It wasn't handouts. They earned a crowd, and we're not perfect. We don't win every game, but our team does play hard every night. And so I think having those veterans that remember those moments in the program and convey that message to the young guys, like, hey, we're not entitled to being a good team. We're not entitled to having fans. You got to go out and earn it every day. And so far we've done that.
Coach, I want to get personal with you here. So this is going to be a little bit long-winded, and I apologize in advance, but you and I actually have something in common that I don't know if Colby even knows where I'm going to start going with this, but we'll make it about the transfer portal. No, it's actually a serious question. We'll make it about the transfer portal, but for those who don't know, like, you got to Michigan State by transferring from Lake State, right? So you had to sit out for a full year. I also had to sit out for a full year. I transferred from UMass and went to Mercyhurst, and that was like the worst year of my life. Like, not being able to play games, not being able to travel. Like, it was really, really hard on me mentally. And, I know people complain about the transfer portal today and how kids can just pick up and go anywhere and then start playing and not have any repercussions from it. But I think, like, for the kids and for their, like, overall mental well-being, like, that is why it's such a positive, because sitting out for that 1 year could be, a super down year. And I'm curious what your experience was like, making that transfer or making the jump to Michigan State, and just where you're at with today's transfer portal and how it works, just knowing you went through it yourself.
Yeah. That was for sure a tough time. I look back, I grew up in Northern Michigan. I had two brothers that played hockey. One was playing at Lake Superior. So I started out there, and Scott Bork was the coach that recruited us, and he was let go after my freshman year. Yeah. So we, at that time, and my younger brother was was committed to come to Lake State. So all three of us were going to be playing together. And that was, the program we really grew up dreaming about playing college hockey. And, they had won the national championship in 88, 92, lost in the finals in 93, and won at 94. So the really good memories. And at the end of the day, we had to make a decision that was best for our family, and understood that, we'd have to sit out a year. And I'm with you. It was a tough year, but you try to take advantage of it. And I was fortunate, Coach Comley brought me here, and we had a great group of guys, and I was able to get stronger in the weight room. I was a pretty late bloomer, so I needed to spend some time in the weight room and just try to take it one day at a time. I played a little defense in practice, and that was interesting. But no, I do think, every player goes through different moments, right? If you're leaving because it's about ice time or whatever, I'm not sure, but if it's not a fit, that can be the case too, right? And we've definitely benefited from players that have come to us in the portal, and we've had some guys move on from here that it wasn't a fit, maybe they weren't playing. So players have a lot of options, and I think that I feel fortunate coming into college. Like, this is kind of all I know as far as the rules, right? And so you got to be ready to be nimble with your roster. And I think that is why too, recruiting, being transparent and honest with kids, that they know what they're signing up for. And I'm not saying we're perfect, but I do think we paint a pretty clear picture. This is what it's like being a Michigan State Spartan. And so when they get here, they're not shocked. I think that's when you can run into trouble, right? If you sell them a bill of goods and then all of a sudden they get there and it's not what was said. And I think that's when you end up losing a lot of kids in the portal.
Colby?
I think the whole situation of giving guys, the opportunities is important. I think that's the one area that we've pretty much arrived at now with everything under pro hockey is that there's different paths, and you can take a left, and then now you can take a right, and you don't have to stay straight down that road. And I'll just point out to everybody in our chat that Adam's brother Jared is a head coach for the Rockford Ice Hogs in the American Hockey League. So you do have a little bit of a coaching family here going on, and that would be maybe someday cool to see you guys teed up and coaching on the same bench together. I don't know. Have we ever seen that before? Two brothers behind the same bench? Is that might be interesting, right?
Yeah. No, it would be something. I've got a ton of respect for what Jared's done. He's coached in the OHL. He's coached with the national team. He coached in the USHL. He went as an assistant in the American League, and then a year ago took a step back to the East Coast League because he wanted to be a head coach, and did a heck of a job down in Charleston, and they had a great season, and got the opportunity to come back to Rockford as a head coach. And I think a lot of people, when they get into coaching, they don't understand, hey, you really gotta earn it, and very few people say, hey, I want to coach, and all of a sudden you're a year later you're a head coach of a team. Like, it takes time, and I know the guys love playing for him, a ton of respect. And now that he's I think it's just a matter of time till Jared's going to get a chance to be a head coach in the NHL. I just think he's got the personality for it. The players respect him. He played about 12 years pro, was a captain in pretty much every team he's played. So I know he's doing a heck of a job there, and really enjoying it.
Yeah, I played against him when he was in Hartford numerous times, actually. So I did cross paths with him a little bit. So I want to go to our chat a little bit, and I think you have a lot of big names that play on your team, and at some point here, I'm sure we're going to ask you about Isaac Howard and Artem Levshunov, but I think it was General Soreness in our chat. We always like to take some questions from our chat, is asking you about Charlie Stramel and what he's meant to this team. What kind of intangibles does he bring? And what can people expect to see? Because this is a first round NHL draft pick who has seemingly taken off playing at Michigan State after, maybe a slower start when he started his college career at Wisconsin.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've known Charlie. I had him for 2 years with the national team. Great kid, really elite athlete. I think people forget a little bit about, his path to, where he started out at Wisconsin. But I mean, he fought injuries. He had a little bit of injury issues at the national team. And, he ended up having surgery. He really didn't join us back until right before the World Under-18 tournament. You talk about critical time of development, and he only got to play a couple months of hockey that season. And then you hop into college hockey, as a 17-year-old. I mean, Charlie just turned 21 a couple weeks ago. He's a senior. He's 21 years old. He's still a young hockey player. And, and like you said, there's a coaching change there, and college hockey's hard. And, he entered the portal, and, when we talked to him, it wasn't recruiting, like Charlie, exactly what we're about, and we're running it like we did when we were together with the national team. And, I think the big thing for you is, changing your jersey is not going to change what's going on. You need to be in better shape. You need to play better here. And you can't be a victim. Like, you gotta, this is on you. And he said, no, coach, I get it. I'm coming. And, that first summer, he got his body fat down to about 8%. I think he came at 16 and really came in, great shape, and, played on a line with the Hobie Baker winner, and it was a big driver on that. And then this year he's really taken another step, and I think really valuing being a power forward takes time. A lot of these guys that are young, big players, I mean, they can still beat guys with their hands and maybe expose the puck, where Charlie's gift is really to protect the puck and drive the puck to the inside and play 200 feet. And, every team wants a guy like that. And so he's really taken a step of understanding what it means to be a true power forward and not look down your nose at it, right? I think when you're young and someone says you're power forward, they think you're not skilled. Like, Charlie's as skilled as it comes, probably the best net front guy I've been around. And then he's done a great job as a leader. Like, he was voted a captain on our team. And I talked to him the other day, especially with some of our younger high-end, high draft pick players. Like, they really do look to Charlie in practice and in games, and what a privilege that is, and an opportunity for him to grow, right? And he's a huge part of our team, and we're going to lean on him for sure.
Coach, I also got to ask, I mean, I know you probably saw this coming, but we got to talk about Porter Martone and Caden Lindstrom, and just not only how they're adjusting on the ice, but like witnessing firsthand at maybe their culture shock to college and, what it's been like just adjusting to this kind of lifestyle and, being amongst 30,000 plus or however 50,000 plus, however many students go to Michigan State peers, around them every day, and how cool that must be to see them go through.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think they're loving it, and I think we're fortunate to have both of them. And, I think one thing that gets lost is like it's no different than a USHL kid. They've never experienced a Big Ten campus, or they've never experienced a playing college hockey, right? I think where it's a little bit different is this was never in their head. Like I don't know if these guys had ever watched a college hockey game before they came, right? And so they were always wired because of the rule and that hey, I'm going to play in the dub or the O and get drafted and sign a contract. If I make the big club, great. If not, I'll go back and then this opportunity was presented. So they're thriving. I think they really enjoy it. I think too is, you don't want a kid to come here because, you get to go to a football game or a basketball game, but it is a perk, and for our guys, to see their eyes light up and see a crowd and see the tailgate. And it's all those life experiences that, college makes it pretty unique, right? Where it's not just a hockey team, you're part of something bigger than yourself. And, Michigan State, we have 600,000 living alumni, and you can go anywhere, and if you got the Sparty logo on, someone's going to be yelling "Go Green" to you. And for them to experience that has been really cool.
I'll never forget with Mel Pearson and Billy Powers. They took me on the field for a football game at the Big House, and I was just like, "Wow!"
Yeah, it's sick.
mean, I was like, this is a little different than what I saw when I went down Commonwealth Avenue. No doubt, it was really eye-opening, and I know you should do that. Like, why not? That to me, it's the one part of like the college experience you don't get when you're at a big school that has the other sports. I think it's like a bummer that we didn't have that at BU, and I was always a little jealous, like down the road at BC. And I know it's not quite Michigan State, but we didn't have those football Saturday tailgates and those opportunities. They do have basketball, but it's not quite on the same level. So that stuff is wow to any teenage kid that's coming to look for
sure.
it.
Well, and I think too is they end up becoming buddies with these guys, right? So our guys on the football team, they want to play in the NFL, and our guys on the basketball team, they want to play in the NBA. So you're around like-minded, committed people, and our guys go to their games. Football and basketball players come to our games. There's that relationship and that bond, and I think that makes it even more fun when you have all of a sudden your buddies with the quarterback or your buddies with the linebacker or the point guard, and you're turning the TV on if they're on the road and cheering for them, and that whole special bond of being something bigger than just a hockey team, right? And part of the university.
Yeah. And just the buzz too, with the program. We do have a question in the chat from Andrew Bucci, I think. I want to make sure I pronounced that correctly. I'm not sure if I did, but Andrew wants to ask you about the outdoor game coming up at Beaver Stadium and the buzz you guys are getting from that and how cool that experience is going to be. Have you ever been a part of an outdoor game before?
Yeah, we played last year at Wrigley. I think when I worked here before, we played at America. Yeah, we played at Michigan's football stadium. Pretty amazing. First time there ever was an outdoor game, this is before the NHL, was at Michigan State. I think it was back in 2000 or 2001.
I remember that.
Yeah. And assistant coach Dave McCullough came up with the idea. Now they got it down to a science, right? And but this was the first time ever, and it sold out in 20 minutes, and it was a packed house. Mr. Hockey dropped the puck, and yeah, it was really cool. Ryan Miller was in net for Duncan Keith was on the team. John Michael Lyles, Brad Fass, a whole bunch of NHL players. Michigan had a really good roster. It was Red Berenson and Ron Mason were the coaches. You think about where the outdoor games have gone now. To the fact that the first time that was ever done was here at Michigan State. So anytime we get a chance to participate one, that's part of the experience for our players. And obviously going out to Penn State, I know it'll be a great event, and they got a heck of a team. And, I'm sure it'll be cold. When you look at the outdoor game that was done here, the original one, the Cold War, it was played in early October. And we showed, we got pictures of it up. The trees are still green. And I think this year it was about 80 degrees outside. So, we're looking forward to it, and I know it'll be a great event.
Yeah, and I just want to go on the record and say this before I ask you the last question about a couple of your boys that are having some success in the NHL right now. But Having watched you guys now live, having watched you guys on TV, and I know it's only November, and it is hard to kind of go wire to wire in college hockey, but I feel confident saying that the only team this year that can beat Michigan State and keep you from hanging the banner that you're looking to hang is Michigan State. So always good to have your own destiny in your own hands. You guys have built an absolute wagon of a team. Jared DeMichael, your staff, want to give those guys some love. They are as good as it gets at recruiting. He had that reputation at UMass. He was one of the architects of that national championship team as well. And that kind of leads me to Isaac Howard and Artem Levshunov. You've had two guys go into the National Hockey League in the last couple of seasons that are, big names. Number 2 overall, a guy who was a first-round pick who held out and called his spot. Now he plays some nights on a line with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I think they might have assisted on his goal the other night, if I remember correctly. But just what did you see from those guys as players that gives you that idea that these guys are different? These guys are special talents.
Yeah, well, I think probably two different scenarios, right? Ike was similar to Charlie Schrammel. I coached him 2 years at the national team. He had started at Duluth, and again, college hockey's tough, and it was a shock to him, right? And so came to us in the portal. One of the things I always loved about Ike is how competitive he is. I never saw him, and I coached him for the last 5 years, and never saw him had a bad day at the rink, and loves to score. He just needed to keep growing like many good offensive players away from the puck, right? And he's obviously very good on the offensive side and doing a better job, and he did that. I thought he got way better when he was here, and that's just chipping away at it, right? And it doesn't happen overnight, and but you could tell his gift, his passion to score was as high as I've ever seen a player that I got a chance to work with. And we were super proud of him and his opportunity. And we brought the team down to watch him play the Red Wings a couple of weeks ago. And then Artie, unique situation, I think had the rule, at the time, Russians or Belarusians weren't eligible to play in the CHL. And I think had that been the case, Artie probably would have went to the OHL, and he couldn't at that time. And, we got a call, you're one of the schools he's interested in. And we kind of knew it was going to be a 1-year deal. And Artie did a heck of a job for us here. He was, in 1 year, he was defenseman of the year. He was rookie of the year. He was an All-American, and we were a 1 seed. We won the regular season and won the playoffs. He was a huge piece of that. And I think what I really enjoyed about Artie is, he really was eager to grow, and I think again, like a young defenseman, that position takes time. I talk to Blash, once a week about Artie or just catching up, and I think some people forget, like Nick Lidstrom is the greatest defenseman arguably all time. And, he didn't win a Norris Trophy till he was 31 years old. And that position just takes time. Yeah. Ended up winning 7 after that. And I think that was his 9th year of playing. And part of it is his simplicity. It took people a while to understand, like, oh my gosh, this guy just does the right thing every single time. And I'm not saying Artie's Lidstrom, but I think a little perspective of defensemen take time, especially you're talking about playing in the best league in the world. So he's off to a great start there. Another one's Carson Dorworth that came to us. We got him on 7% scholarship. And, to think that we were probably stupid if we thought he was going to be that good. We should have offered him a full, but, he ended up signing after his junior year here last year and went right to Philly to play. And we're proud of him and what he was able to accomplish. But yeah, those guys were huge for our team, and we're excited to watch their future success.
Coach, I do have one more question, but I did want to follow up quickly just about Levshunov specifically. I got the chance to actually skate with him this summer at that Florida SoFlo 3-on-3 league, which was really cool to be on the ice with him. But I'm wondering, because his English was a little bit iffy, right? So I'm wondering, communicating with a guy like that, what that is like for a coach, right? You have this highly touted prospect, and there is a language barrier. So the communication between you and him, that's got to be a difficult challenge too, no?
You know what? I thought it was better than maybe once you get to know him. I think it's better than you originally think. You know what I mean? He's a smart kid. He did really well in school. We definitely had tutors that would help him. You know what I mean? We had a Russian tutor that can help him and maybe translate some stuff. But he's a very smart. He's a very street smart person. You know what I mean? And I think he's able to navigate his way. And I thought he really understood a lot of what we were asking him to do. And I thought that was great for him too, getting ready to be a pro. He the reps he got to speak in the language in the classroom and in the community is really going to help him down the road.
Yeah. And my last one for you, I can imagine you'll know where this is coming from. We kind of hinted at the fact that we both know this guy, but I was told to ask you about the video coach at Michigan State, Dougie, and how he got the nickname.
Yeah, Dougie does a heck of a job. Haven't done it before. I know it's a thankless job. So Dan Sturgis played here, was on the national championship. His brother AJ played here, works for the Blackhawks now. His dad played here, so he's a legacy Spartan, and we've had a number of different nicknames for him. It started out as Danny Boy, and then he does the meals as well for the team. So I think at one point someone had delivered and was looking for Doug. And then we've kind of just taken off with it, and now all the guys just refer to him as Doug.
Mike begged me to ask that, so
I played with Sturgy in Ann Arbor. He's a good man, big tall defenseman, and I know the history there at Michigan State. Look, we're really appreciative of your time today. We're hoping for continued success, and I'll say this: we'll see you in Vegas. I would hope, and I would think, and we look forward to watching the team grow, and it was cool just to see Caden Lindstrom sort of coming out party in that BU series. Boy, did he look good! I can't wait to see these guys later in the season, how good this team possibly can be. So thanks for your time today, and good luck. We'll keep in touch with you. All right.
Yeah, thanks, guys. No, and I appreciate you guys covering college hockey. I think it takes a whole bunch of people to grow. We all know it's a great product, and there's a lot of, with all the change and the quality of players, but people like you that cover college hockey, I mean, that matters. So we're really thankful for that, and we just got to keep getting better, and hopefully we see you there.
Yep.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Johnny, what I was dying to say, but we were running a little bit light on time when you brought up the Lev Shunov thing. I was just sitting there at the tip of my tongue. Like, he didn't want to speak English with you because he just probably didn't like you that much. It was at the tip of my tongue. It really was just at the tip of my tongue. And I do want to say this before we get to our last couple little orders of business. Like, the Michigan State staff has gained the reputation of a premier place to get you ready for the National Hockey League. I think that's one of the things with Adam Nightingale. He has that sort of development tag next to his name. He coached a ton of guys who are playing in the National Hockey League right now at the U.S. national team.
Will Smith, Cutter.
Exactly. He was the coach for all of those players that all went into college and were really successful. So that is a gentleman right there who has that sort of, gold star next to his name for player development right now in the NCAA. And you can probably look at him. You could probably look at Jay Pandolfo. You could probably look at, maybe you look at Pat Ferschweiler has that tag next to his name. And, Brandon Naurato probably has that tag to his name. And I don't want to leave people out. There's others, but there are definitely some kind of premier names right now for development. And listen, he has a connection to the Ontario, to the CHL, right? Because his brother coached in the CHL, and I think they've used the CHL as well as any program. I mean, look at the difference makers that Michigan State brought in from the CHL, and they seemingly picked all the right guys to come. And I don't think a lot of us expected to see Porter Martone in the NCAA. Everybody just assumed he was going to sign with the Flyers and be on his way, right? But not the case. Not the case. So great to get him on. Number one team in the country, a team that's expectations are to win or, win it all this year, right? Anything less, sure, there's ways you can look at it and say this was a good season because it is a one and done situation in college hockey. But it was great to get him on, hear his point of view. Super sharp guy, not somebody that I know really well. I got to know him a little bit when they played BU because I got a chance to spend a little time with him and talk to him a little bit about, his team, his season, his expectations, all that. But you could just see there's a reason he's getting NHL interviews in every coaching cycle. And he will continue to get NHL coaching interviews in this coaching cycle. No doubt about it, Johnny.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, Michigan State, if you're watching college hockey, they're a team that's probably must-watch television, right? So keep your eye out for the Spartans this year. They're a team that certainly will be in Vegas, or hopefully will be in Vegas when the Frozen Four does come around. So with that, Colby, a couple more orders of business to get to. Just want to get a quick word from our sponsor, Parasso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Parasso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations. So get 15% off at Parasso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. Last night, Gary Bettman announced that Cowboy Stadium hosts the 2027 Stadium Series. There's no opponent yet for the Dallas Stars. You have to imagine all signs point toward the Colorado Avalanche, just, building into that Central Division rivalry that's now been established after the Rantanen trade and the playoff series, and how good both teams always are. It seems like that's going to be a no-brainer. Is there any opponent you want to see? And also, what do you make of the outdoor games continuously being a thing? Like, are you tired of them yet, or do you want to see 1 or 2 happen every year still?
I would say that I've kind of stayed steadfast in my opinion of the fact that as long as 75,000 tickets are being sold to outdoor games, then they should continue to do them. You got to think about the fact that that's a huge revenue driver for the National Hockey League. And, that's a big day of gate revenue. So until we have an outdoor game that's not sold out, why would they stop doing it? And the fact that you're now involving Jerry Jones, one of the greatest marketers in the history of our country when it comes to sports. Again, you can love the guy or hate the guy, and you can love the Cowboys or hate the Cowboys. Listen, I hate the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, but you can't sit there and deny the fact that anything Jerry Jones touches blows up. And so to see Gary Bettman with Jerry Jones on the field last night and Stephen A. Smith, again, like him or not, he understands how to bring the circus. He understands. And I called the game at the Cotton Bowl years ago between the Dallas
Nashville.
Stars and Nashville. And, I did that game for Westwood One. And, people showed up, man. And the festival that was around the Cotton Bowl was incredible.
It's sick.
I am sure Jerry's World will put on a show for the winter. Was it the Winter Classic, or is that the Winter Classic game, or is that a stadium?
No, this is the stadium. This is the stadium
series. This is the stadium series. And listen, I see Ice Clubs. He writes Stephen A. Smith is a clown. Listen, again, like I think
he's entertaining.
Stephen A. Smith is a lot smarter than people want to say, and I think he's very calculated with what he does and what he says. But again, love him or hate him, you're talking about Stephen A. Smith. You're loving or hating, you're talking about Jerry Jones, right? So I don't think those are bad things for the NHL, Johnny.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. And again, like if you've been to outdoor games, I've been to a few now, they're all fun. And they all have their own like little unique touch on it depending on the city that it's in. So I imagine, I've been to Cowboy Stadium a couple times when I was playing junior in Wichita Falls, Texas, and it's a fun place to be, man. Like Cowboy Stadium. Oh, it's so sick. I went to a Cowboys Lions playoff game. I think the Cowboys won late in the fourth quarter. Must have been 2015, but that was one of the coolest sporting events I've been to. So they'll do a great job. Hopefully the matchup is good.
What? Oh, they lost last night. Yeah, that's right. They lost last night. They had last night. I saw were they on Hard Knocks a couple of years ago, and they gave you a tour of their whole facility and practice facility and just everything. I mean, it is like the Taj Mahal. I mean, no, they were.
It's like a town. It's like a town.
They were, because I remember Dak Prescott obviously being super featured, and I mean, it's insane what they have going on there. So again, as long as you're selling 75, 85, 100,000 seats, keep it going and keep having those events. And I'll tell you what I would love to see. I would love to see there's obviously a college game going on at Beaver Stadium. Where's the Winter Classic this year? I can't remember.
It's Florida Rangers in Miami.
Okay. Why are they not doing Flyers Penguins at Penn State? Why is that not happening?
I mean, we've been talking about that for years, but
if they're
not
doing
a
an
matchup.
outdoor game, if you're doing an outdoor game already at Penn State, like why are the Flyers and Penguins not doing it too? I mean,
they should be. They should be
low-hanging fruit.
They should be, but that was announced way later. The Penn State Michigan State game, like the Winter Classic, was announced a year ago already. I think that was announced this summer or a few months ago even. But yeah, not having a Flyers Penguins game at Beaver Stadium has been, talked about for years, I feel like. But both teams, again, the last, couple of years haven't so exciting, right? Are you really drawing a crowd, like a nationally televised crowd from a Penguins Flyers game? With how
probably
those teams
not a
are right
nationally televised crowd. You're right, but you can sell the stadium out. You'd 100%
for sure.
sell
but the TV ratings
out.
Probably wouldn't be like,
but
great,
big. Remember, the NHL is a gate revenue league. It's not a team that just survives on TV money like the NFL. The NFL could never have fans, and they could still survive. So, all right, listen. What else we got to get to here? Because I know you got to get to pregame skate here.
Yeah, just bet 365 our bet of the night. Last night, obviously, we lost pretty wild fashion. But tonight, we're going to take the Vegas Golden Knights -1.5. They're home against the Detroit Red Wings. The Red Wings have had a really strong road trip. They've played 4 straight games on the road. They've actually won 3 of those 4. You got to think Vegas, they could be due for a letdown game. Playing, at T-Mobile Arena is a tough place to play. The Golden Knights also coming off a loss to the Colorado Avalanche. So you want to see them get back in the win column. Just feels like a good opportunity for the Golden Knights to come out and take advantage of a team that's been on the road for about 10 days or so. So we'll take the Golden Knights on the puck line plus money. And the bets have been good this year so far outside of last night. We definitely have a winning record. I think Vic needs to come up with the tally. But, that's all I got.
10 games tonight. A lot of games at 7, and then couple games at 8, and then it's the 9:30 and 10 p.m. and then even at 10:30. Wow. Okay. So again, like you have 1, 2, 3, 4 games at 7:00 tonight, starting at 7:00. Like why not do 2 at 7, 2 at 7:30? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. And I guess there must be, TNT doubleheader, which is why you have a 7 and a 9:30. So, all right, Johnny, don't forget, we do have Elliot Friedman tomorrow with us. Vic, is that at 9:15 in the morning? I think that's normally Elliot's sign-in time. So if you have questions for Elliot, make sure that you leave them in today's stream once we're done so we can go back to them, or tweet them to Johnny, tweet them to me. Most likely better chance of getting them on if you tweet them to Johnny. Just being honest with you all. It was a good morning to have Bucci come on last second. We're always appreciative of that. And then Adam Nightingale, is great to get his point of view and hear him talk about some of his future and current National Hockey League players along with his team. Johnny, you're heading to pregame skate right now. I believe you're talking with Carolina today.
Not Keandre
Probably
talking with Svechnikov, maybe. No, not Keandre Miller. I don't think
he's going to tell you he can't speak English either, probably.
I talked to him before. He's a nice guy. I like Svechnikov.
Yeah. All right. So, Johnny, get over to the rink, get over to pregame skate. Make sure you hit like on this episode. Make sure you keep those automatic downloads going. We will separate out the John Buccigross and the Adam Nightingale interviews. So if you want to listen to the whole show, you can download it. If you want to listen to just those episodes, download those as well. Keep helping us prop those download numbers up. Again, when it comes to our advertisers, we can't do it without you guys. It keeps us on the air. It keeps Johnny moving from apartment to apartment, and keeps Vic fat and happy with his paycheck. So with that, we love you all. We appreciate the questions today, and we will see everybody back here right as we always do, 9 a.m. tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Morning Cuppa Hockey here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, we've got more great hockey content every day. You can catch DFO live at noon and stick around for the Sheet with Jeff Marek at 1 p.m. right here on Daily Faceoff. Until then, keep your coffee hot and your takes hotter.